pre-order your copy of Football Game Plan's latest book project, The Go-Go Offense by Brennan Marion. Now, Coach Marion is the offensive coordinator at William & Mary and takes you through the ins and outs of the most explosive offense that's lighting up the college football fields and scoreboards in the process. You can pre-order your copy at footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. Now, the release of the Go-Go Offense book is August 25th. Welcome to Football Game Plan, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the Playbook. Mike McCarthy is your producer today. It's the summertime and preseason is just around the corner in the NFL, and we'll get you ready for the upcoming 2019 NFL season as we preview the New York Giants. Now, as we kick off the season preview, let us take a look at some of the key storylines heading into the season as we go into our 4-minute offense.
The New York Football Giants made waves this offseason when they traded Odell Beckham Jr. to the Cleveland Browns. A 3-time Pro Bowler, Beckham is one of the most dynamic wide receivers in the NFL, having caught 390 passes for 5,400 yards and 44 touchdowns in his career. He's been the #1 target for the Giants' passing attack. Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, and Eli Manning will need to step up big time in order to replace Odell and try to improve their 11th-ranked passing attack from 2018. Eli Manning is coming off 2 straight losing seasons as a starter, having gone 3-12 and 5-11 in 2017 and 2018. With Manning as the #1 in New York, the Giants haven't had a top 10 offense since 2015. Because of the poor run of form, the Giants selected their quarterback of the future and Eli Manning lookalike in Daniel Jones from Duke. In 2016, the Giants defense ranked 2nd in NFL in points allowed. Landon Collins, Janoris Jenkins, and Olivier Vernon brought the heat that year and carried the Giants to the playoffs, with some help from the 8th-ranked passing offense. Since then, the Giants' defense has been ranked 27th and 23rd in points allowed. It'll be interesting to see if the Big Blue defense can return to its dominant form in 2019, especially since Janoris Jenkins is the only remaining player from that dominant 2016 side. Saquon Barkley had an expectedly dominant rookie year after being drafted 2nd overall in 2018 out of Penn State. Tallying over 2,000 scrimmage yards and 15 total touchdowns, it's easy to argue that Barkley is the best running back in the NFL. If you'd like any more proof, check out the running back rankings from Maurice Jones-Drew. He recently ranked him #1 on his list of running backs, and I, for one, agree with him. Look for Barkley to be the centerpiece of the Giants' offense in 2019.
It's time to put this team under the microscope and go position by position to see where they stand as we head into the 2019 season, and we'll start on the offensive side of the ball at the quarterback position. The New York Giants are hoping that Eli Manning can improve situationally this season, just like he did statistically last year. Now, the stats look nice, and they were an improvement over 2017, but in critical situations, 3rd down, red zone offense, 4-minute offense, end of game situations, Eli still left some meat on the bones out there on the field. That's where he'll have to grow this upcoming season. Yes, they took Daniel Jones in the 1st round, and the team still believes that he is their future, but I don't believe Eli Manning is on the hot seat at all. He'll have to play extremely terrible for Jones to even think about seeing the field. The real battle to watch will be between Jones and last year's 4th-round pick, Kyle Lauletta. The latter is essentially playing for his spot on the roster, as he could lose out to the veteran Alex Tanney, who the organization really likes. The backfield for the Giants is in great hands with the excellent Saquon Barkley. He's a do-everything back that is a home run hitter. I like how the Giants upgraded the depth behind him this offseason by getting back a healthy Paul Perkins and bringing in Rod Smith via free agency from the Dallas Cowboys. Keep an eye on undrafted rookie free agent running back Jonathan Hilliman out of Rutgers. He brings some explosiveness to the table as well as special teams value as a kickoff returner. Those 3 backs will compete with Wayne Gallman for backup duties behind Barkley. On the perimeter, the Giants, to me, have a bevy of the same types of players, catch and run guys. Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard, Corey Coleman are all of those types of receivers. Right now, they need a deep threat to show himself this upcoming season. Now, whether that can be Cody Latimer or rookies Darius Slayton or Alex Wesley is something that we'll be watching for throughout the course of training camp. Now, speaking of rookies, keep an eye on undrafted rookie free agent Reggie White Jr. out of Monmouth. He's a big-bodied wide receiver. I think the biggest receiver on their roster outside of Alonzo Russell. I think this is a guy that can play both inside and outside. He's seen a lot of work inside with Big Blue during OTAs and minicamp. If Evan Ingram can stay healthy and consistent, he gives the Giants a matchup problem at tight end. He has all of the ability in the world, but has been snake bitten by inconsistency so far in his short career. It'll be interesting to see how they incorporate Rhett Ellison and others in the passing game this upcoming year. I really like undrafted rookie free agent CJ Conrad as a player to emerge as yet another receiving threat at that position. Along the offensive line, Kevin Zeitler will make a huge impact up front. He's one of the better guards in the game and makes the position for the Giants a position of strength. The hope is that they improve on the tackles this year with Nate Solder, who battled with inconsistency last year, and Mike Remmers, who they signed via free agency from the Minnesota Vikings, as he's projected to start over last year's incumbent Chad Wheeler, who started to play well late last season on the right side at tackle, and he gives them depth up front at the least. All eyes will be on center John Halapio if he can stay healthy. Otherwise, we'll see either Spencer Pulley or Evan Brown lead the way at the position. Depth is still a work in progress in my opinion, so keep an eye on second-year player Nick Gates out of Nebraska. I thought he looked good last training camp. And here's how I graded out the offensive side of the ball for the Giants. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, and I think this side is where the Giants got significantly better this offseason. Let's start with the defensive line. The big addition of Dexter Lawrence out of Clemson at the nose position gives them potentially what they lost in Snacks Harrison when he left the building to go to Detroit. Lawrence is very solid at the point of attack and has underrated quickness. I think he's going to be a better person that could provide pressure more so than what he did at Clemson. Again, it's a case of what he was asked to do versus what he can't do. I think he can get pressure, and we'll see a lot of that this year. It'll also alleviate a lot of the pressure off guys like BJ Hill and RJ McIntosh, as they can be pass rushers from the 5-tech position. Delvin Tomlinson is another player who could serve multiple roles up front and be a very strong run defender as well. At the second level, the expected growth of second-year player Lorenzo Carter on the outside is something to be excited about. Carter started to play well toward the end of the season, showcasing some ability to pressure the quarterback and be very disruptive. The Giants added veteran Marcus Golden and rookie O'Shane Zimenez out of Old Dominion to help complement Carter, and if Golden can regain his pre-injury form, he'll be a great pickup for this defense. And I still think Zimenez gives them someone who's very similar to O.C. Umenyiora out there on the edge. Kareem Martin is a solid all-around player who could be a swing depth guy along with Avery Moss. Now, where they do have some questions, in my opinion, is at inside linebacker. Alec Ogletree found himself making a lot of plays last year, but still is a slight question mark at times in coverage. BJ Goodson is a good player, but has to find a way to stay healthy for a full season. Tay Davis is a guy I really like. The second-year player out of Chattanooga has great range and figures to be a factor in their nickel package. In the secondary, Janoris Jenkins is the elder statesman here, as the Giants brought in a bevy of newbies at corner. With that said, the youth that they were able to infuse here is excellent, grabbing ball hawks like DeAndre Baker out of Georgia, Julian Love out of Notre Dame, and Corey Ballantyne out of Washburn in the draft was their way of improving the turnover potential with this unit that didn't turn the ball over a lot last season. So last year's supplemental pick Sam Bill out of Mississippi State has looked really good in OTAs and minicamp and figures to be one of the starters out there on the outside, just strengthening this unit as a whole. Grant Haley played well last year and figures to be in the mix at slot corner. Now, the Giants really improved at safety with the addition of Jabril Peppers, who came over from the Browns in that Odell Beckham trade. Peppers is a gamer who makes an impact on both ends of defense, as versus the run and also versus the pass. He's also a very good blitzer and is good on special teams. Veteran Antoine Bethea takes over at free safety, which allows Michael Thomas, who made a lot of plays last year for the Giants, to be more of a move piece on the back end. So expect to see this group make a ton of plays this year for Big Blue. Now, here's how I grade out the rest of the defense, or the defensive side of the ball, for the Giants. We're going to put the Giants offensive personnel in a great position in the passing game by utilizing their catch and run guys in a bunch set and trying to create an optimal matchup deep down the field. What we're talking about: Sterling Shepard, Corey Coleman, and also Golden Tate, the free agent. We're going to have Saquon Barkley obviously in the backfield. We're going to put Evan Ingram out wide by himself, hopefully taking away two safeties or a safety in the backer, allowing these guys to flourish. Now, theoretically, when you see bunch formations, probably the most common defense you're going to see versus a type of set like this is cover two. So we're going to try a cover two beater with your three excellent route runners and guys that are catch and run guys that have the quickness out of their breaks to try to create separation and get deep down the field, while also giving Eli Manning some outlet options. So first of all, working left to right, we're going to put Evan Ingram on a short in route, giving him a nice big target over the middle of the field straight drop back, maybe a little play action here, straight drop back, set back up there in the pocket. Have Saquon Barkley come through, check pressure, no pressure. He's going to work his way this way, giving him an outlet. Hopefully, one-on-one with the backer, we know he could beat him all day in his sleep. Now what we're going to do in the bunch, we're going to have Sterling Shepard work this guy over, go up, and try to run away, pulling coverage away. Now what we're going to do here is take Corey Coleman up into the corner. He has the speed to create that separation. We're going to run a nice little pivot route here with Golden Tate. So you give Eli Manning a quick outlet option here, a deep shot here to Corey Coleman in the hole versus cover 2, right there in between the corner and safety. Or you want to take a shot deep down the field, depending on how aggressive this safety plays. If he bites on that in route, this is open all day. Eli has enough arm strength to get that. If we have another outlet receiver in this route, is Saquon Barkley working through the line, going back across the formation and beating a linebacker one-on-one. So there's opportunities with this Giants offense to have success in the passing game, and this is one way they can get it done. We know the Giants made a ton of moves this offseason to get better defensively, and one area where they got better, in my opinion, is on the perimeter by getting locked down man-to-man corners. And what I'm talking about is getting guys that can play press, match up one-on-one, and it really helps out the front end get pressure because they're doing a great job on the back end and locking up those receivers. Here's what I'm talking about. We're going to talk about just lining up and getting a line and what man-to-man pressure or the ability to play man-to-man does for a defense. You're going to put Janoris Jenkins out here on the outside. Let's call it JJ over here. He's a good press corner, but he's going to also be able to play off, mirror match, read the quarterback's eyes, and be able to make a play on the ball. Sam Bill, number 23, is their slot corner who didn't play last year, but he has great mirror match ability, and he can play in the slot. DeAndre Baker, their first round selection, he was known for his press ability. You're going to put him outside, one-on-one, allow him to dig in that chest as that wide receiver. That just frees up a ton of opportunities. What it also does, it allows them to put Jabril Peppers, who's number 21 this year, on the move. They can move him over to tight end. They can keep him on a go, blitz him wherever you want. Not having to really be accountable for coverage right off the bat initially in this look allows you to be flexible with him. And you have Antoine Bethea back deep, ball hawk, veteran guy, smart, takes great angles to the football. But if you didn't have these press corners, these guys that are able to get into the face of the receivers, mirror match and take things away, you have to really tip your hand before the snap. Okay, we're going to play maybe off in coverage and then allow him to drop back. And then, he's going to come back, play man. But since you trust these guys one-on-one in coverage, you can really just get aggressive. They're going to buy up time getting off the line of scrimmage, which allows maybe Marcus Golden with Lorenzo Carter or O'Shane Zimenez, Dexter Lawrence, whoever they want to match up, BJ Hill. They now have the ability to apply pressure with guys that can drop back in coverage, Alec Ogletree, also Tay Davis. But I think the biggest key to this Giants defense will be how they're matching and mirroring with these guys that they drafted and guys that they brought in last year, Sam Bill, and also the guy drafted this year in DeAndre Baker out of Georgia. But this is a good defense that could utilize the back end to help out the front end.
All right, moving on to the Giants since we just mentioned them. Eli Manning. All right, moving on to the next position. Saquon Barkley. He's got to be the number one pick because they're going to feed him the football and the talent's there. He's one of the most talented running backs I've seen in the last decade. He literally might be the most talented running back I've seen since Adrian Peterson. It's amazing. Wayne Gallman's the backup, but the offense isn't good enough to support putting their running back. Even if Saquon goes down, unless you're in dire straits, don't put Gallman in. Not because he doesn't have some semblance of talent. It's more because the offense is going to be very slow moving, very low scoring. Sterling Shepard, because of that, I can't take Sterling Shepard for the 9th or 10th round. He's like a D.D. Westbrook, where they have talent, oddly enough, both out of the same university, Oklahoma, but their offenses are not geared towards them being successful. And Golden Tate is an immediate guy that I would say that about as well, because Golden Tate should eat in his offense, maybe serviceable for PPR league, but where do you take him? I can't take Golden Tate in a standard league until 12th round. I can't take him in a PPR league until the 8th or 9th round maximum. Evan Ingram, because of the blight on the tight end position, as people want to describe it, which I don't think it's nearly as bad as people want to say it is, to be candid. Evan Ingram's going to probably be the 4th or 5th tight end off the board. if you have an appetite to take a tight end in the 5th round, which is possibly where he's going to go for it. Unless you're Travis Kelce, Gronk, Zach Ertz, I'm not doing it. And we'll get to that later. Those are literally the only 3 tight ends, even with Gronk not playing. But Zach Ertz and Kelce are the only tight ends I would take in the top 5 rounds. We'll get to that later.
Troy Anthony here, bringing you the best bets for the New York Giants. The Giants' over-under win total right now is sitting at 5.5 games. At minus 132, I'm taking the over 5.5 wins. They're tied for having the second easiest schedule this year. With improvements to the offensive line, I believe they could be a 7 to 8 win team this year. Saquon Barkley is going to have a pivotal role to play in achieving that. Last season, Saquon finished 2nd in total rushing yards, and with 1 season under his belt and the subtraction of Odell Beckham, the Giants should utilize Saquon a little more this season. If you were to take him to achieve the rushing title, you can get him right now at plus 305. Looking to their Week 1 matchup, the Giants are set to take on the Dallas Cowboys. These two teams seem to always play each other tough no matter how good or bad they are. At minus 114, I really like the Giants with the spread at 7.5 points. Over their previous 10 matchups, only 3 of those games were decided by more than 7.5 points. This division is really tough, and these two teams know each other to the T. Troy Anthony for Football Game Plan. Follow me at Twitter at FootballFandom, with the O's replaced with zeros.
I'm David Hassagen, and this is Huddle Up with Hassagen. We're going to be taking some quick fire takes on the New York Giants, starting with this year's breakout candidate. Emery, who stands out to you?
Offensively, Will Hernandez. I think he's primed for a breakout year. He had his ups and downs as a rookie, but a lot of the big runs for Saquon Barkley quietly came right behind that guard from UTEP. So now he's a little bit more comfortable. Continuity with playing next to Nate Solder. I think he's going to be ready for a breakout year. Defensively, I think when you have to look at the Giants on defense, you look at the secondary. Sam Beal was a supplemental draft pick last year. Didn't play much, was actually injured the first day he was out there for practice. Had a shoulder injury, which kept him out the whole season. So far in OTAs and minicamp, he's been a star. And so now we get to see him for a full-fledged season in real games. I think he's going to be a breakout candidate.
A lot of questions about the rookie class for the Giants. 3 first-round picks. Who are going to be the biggest impact on the field, though?
I think for the offense, it won't be who you think it is. I think it's going to be wide receiver Alex Wesley.
Okay.
I think he's the best deep threat on the team. Right now, they're still trying to find that deep threat. Wesley does a great job tracking the ball. He did that in college. He did it down at the Senior Bowl. He's from Northern Colorado, FCS guy. So I think he's going to be the impact on offense. Defensively, like you said, 3 first-round picks, 2 are defensive players, but 1 in particular I think is going to be a star, and that's going to be DeAndre Baker out of Georgia. His press skills is second to none. So far in OTAs and minicamp, he always has his hands on the ball. He picked off a couple of passes. He's always right there in the hip pocket of the receiver. Now when you put the full pads on, I think he's just going to build on what he did this spring.
Perhaps a steal in the late first round for the Giants.
I would think so.
Who are your big surprises coming out of training camp for the Giants this year?
I think you have to look at Paul Perkins. I think a lot of people feel as though he forgot he was on the team. He was injured last year, almost 2 years, and you kind of lost track of where he was. But he was on the team. OTAs, he looked fine. Minicamp, he looked fine. I think he's going to be a surprise. I would also look at R.J. McIntosh, defensively, the defensive lineman, and also Avery Moss, an edge rusher. Both guys were on the team last year. Moss was on the practice squad after being drafted the year prior, and McIntosh was drafted last year, but was sort of injured all season up until the last quarter of the season, then started to see some game reps. I think both guys are primed for breakout years because when you look at McIntosh, that versatility along the defensive line is going to help out. And Moss spent the year on a practice squad getting used to making a transition from a defensive end in that 4-3 defense to James Bettcher's 3-4, having to play with his hand off the ground. So look for him to be a surprise this year because he had the pass rushing ability at Youngstown State.
Who are the X factors for this team that has a lot of pressure on them?
I won't say pressure. I would say from an impact standpoint, the X factor wide receiver wise, Corey Coleman. He came over late last year, was an impact player on special teams. Now he's slated to be their 3rd receiver, their slot guy. He has a great opportunity to realize his potential that made him a first-round pick. And on defense, Lorenzo Carter, the outside linebacker, was a 3rd-round pick last year. Started to find his way as a rookie, I want to say he had 4.5 sacks, but you talk about a guy that can not only play the run, but also affect the pocket. He's a little bit more confident this year and could have a pairing partner on the opposite side in O'Shane Ximines out of Old Dominion. So I think Carter is primed for a big jump this year.
What are your reasons for optimism and concern for the New York Giants?
Optimism, I would say when you look at the Giants, they have the running game. And defensively, I think they're going to be very good this year.
Right.
Front end will help out the back end. Dexter Lawrence, a rookie nose tackle, is going to make an impact. It's going to help out those outside linebackers, which will then help those ball hawks that they added in the draft and via free agency make plays on the ball. So I think the defense and run game, that alone should give you optimism and could win you a lot of games in the league. Conversely, on the concern side, if Eli Manning continues to regress, if you look at his numbers since the 2012, since his last Super Bowl, they haven't gotten better. And I know he had the year in when they went to the playoffs and played Green Bay. To me that was the anomaly sandwiched in some inconsistent years. So he's going to have to revert back to that form to really carry this offense. And if they can't find a deep threat, that's going to be a problem because they're going to try to play the small ball approach. And I don't think that's going to be good football for them in this division, which has gotten tougher over the years. Emory Hunt-Thazar, the Playbook here, and joining me now is fellow football game plan analyst Troy Anthony for this 4 Downs with Thazar segment, continuing with our preview of the New York Giants. And as we take a look at the road to the Super Bowl for the Giants, starting with the offense. And we're going to take a different approach to it. I think defensively is where they're probably going to have to start. If this defense that they put together becomes top 10 with all the additions, this team definitely can be led by their defense and their running game. So I think defensively, if they can be top 10, that kind of helps them put them on the right track of going to the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Now, we know the saying, defense wins championships, so I respect that opinion, but I believe it begins with that offensive line. Last season, that offensive line was abysmal through the first 8 games. The second half of the season, they made a couple of improvements, and it was a huge improvement for the offense overall. Eli had better numbers. The first 8 games, Saquon only rushed for 519 yards. The second 8 games, he rushed for 788 yards. Now, this offseason, they put some work in. They traded, they got in Zeitler. That offensive line is going to be a huge improvement this offseason. That's where their turnaround is going to start for me, and that's how they're going to make it.
How long are you going to blame the offensive line? You got to look at the common denominator. It's number 10. They need 10 to play his best football every year because you can't keep adding, we need a left tackle, we need a left guard, we need a center, we need a right guard. You don't went through the entire offensive line and you missed the common denominator, which is number 10. He has to play better.
So my question is, when has number 10 played that type of ball? When he had an offensive line?
Are you sure it was the offensive line, or are you sure it was the fact that he was 8 years younger?
When he had the offensive line that had the chemistry and was together for years and played solid, that's when he took them on their runs.
I'll concede that point because continuity is king along the offensive line because you have to get these guys playing together because you can know what the guy next to you is going to do. Where I see an issue with this offense is there no deep threat right now. So I think a deep threat has to emerge for the Giants. Right now they got a bunch of catch and run guys, which is fine. You have Golden Tate, catch and run. You have Corey Coleman, could be a catch and run. Maybe could even be a deep threat. Sterling Shepard is a guy that I think is a catch and run guy. Evan Ingram, catch and run guy. So there's no one that's a deep threat. But if a deep threat does emerge, maybe that's Corey Coleman. Maybe that's undrafted free agent Alex Wesley out of Northern Colorado. Maybe it's the 6th-round draft pick Darius Slayton out of Auburn. If someone can step up and be that deep threat, now with your running game, with the improved offensive line, with your catch and run guys, you have a guy that can take the top off the defense and then go for big plays deep down the field, which could help you, ease that cushion up a little bit so you're not playing so many close games if you're the Giants.
Speaking of close games and stepping up, that's one thing that this team has to do as a whole is close the games out. We constantly see the Giants in the game middle of the fourth quarter and towards the end of the fourth quarter. But what happens? Either Eli Manning gets a strip sack fumble, throws an interception, they end up in a 3rd and long late in the game, or they end up in a 4th down late in the game that they just don't happen to convert. We see it time and time again. 2 seasons in a row. The game against Carolina this past season. Carolina has the lead. Giants run down, take the lead with under 1:20 left. The defense allows Carolina to drive down the field, kick the game-winning field goal. Eagles did it the season of their Super Bowl run where Jake Elliott banged the 61 field goal. They let a rookie bang a 61-yard field goal for the win. Giants have constantly done it over the past couple seasons, and it has to end. They have to close out games.
Yeah, that's going to tie into what they can do offensively, defensively, and special teams. Can they get pressure when they need to? Can they put points up on the board inside the red zone? And can their kicking game be consistent like it was over the last couple of seasons, both kicking and punting. If they can do that, the Giants will be playing bonus football in January this upcoming season. I have the Giants finishing 4th in the NFC East. I think defensively this team will be very good, and they could get by with their defense and their running game and also their special teams, but it's going to be the offense that I think is going to be the reason why they don't get past the Eagles, Redskins, or Cowboys in this division. Unless they surprise, then this team can make the playoffs, but right now I think this will be a very solid team, just not enough to where they can fight their way to the top half of the division. So that's it for this season preview. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the Playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of our social media accounts. And don't forget to check out and subscribe to Football Game Plan Podcast on iTunes, where you can find our NFL All 32 podcasts, our fantasy football starting lineup, as well as our Scout Team podcast, and leave us a 5-star rating. Also subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network, located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Finally, every Thursday and Friday evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, be sure to check out the Football Game Plan show on the Game Plus Network. Check with your cable provider for channel listings.